And as we mentioned earlier in the show, the House is set to meet in about a half hour to debate President Biden's legislative agenda. If all goes well, there could be a vote on the Build Back Better plan and the bipartisan infrastructure bill later on today. The House Rules Committee met late last night to go over the $1.75 trillion social spending package. So for more on this, we want to bring in Nikole Killion, who is at the Capitol. All right, Nikole, I honestly do not blame people who maybe just tune into this every once in a while for thinking that the vote already happened, because we've been talking about this for so long. I, for one, did not believe the speaker when she said before the end of the week they're going to have a vote. But it appears that that's exactly what's going to happen. The House is expected to vote this morning on a new version of President Biden's social spending plan and the bipartisan infrastructure bill. The speaker said she did not want to put any bill to a vote in the House if she did not think it could pass in the Senate. I presume she's confident it will at least pass in the House.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the speaker doesn't put anything on the floor that she doesn't think will pass or have the votes. And quite frankly, that has been the reason for the multiple delays that we have seen on this bill, because every time they have gotten ready to put it up, they simply didn't have the votes. And so that's why you saw this momentum to try to get there, and then ultimately that vote not happening. So in essence, by that Rules Committee meeting last night, setting the stage for today's vote is a pretty strong indicator that at this point they've finally gotten Democrats on the same page, even though some of them still may have reservations or have expressed their concerns about some provisions in the bill. But at the end of the day, this is something that the majority of Democrats want to rally and galvanize behind. And at the end of the day, the clock is working against them in the sense that Congress is out next week, both the House and Senate. So if they don't act now, then this will just get pushed off for yet another week. So that's why there was really a push to try to do it today.
All right, so this social spending plan, I don't even know exactly what it looks like now. What's in, what's out?
So a couple of things. Some of the core elements have remained in the package, and so those are things like universal pre-K, child care tax credits. There are a number of tax credits and investments for climate change and clean energy. There have been some reforms added to help lower prescription drug costs, but there are a number of things that are no longer in the bill. More specifically, things like tuition-free community college, clean energy standards, dental and vision coverage through an expansion of Medicare. And keep in mind that there were also some provisions that were out that are now back in, and those are things like, paid leave, paid family and medical leave, which at this point, it seems Democrats have gotten that to 4 weeks of paid leave. Ideally, this started at 12 weeks, but as a compromise, they've pared it down to 4. And you also have lawmakers who have been working over some fine-tuning of the bill with respect to immigration. There are a number of lawmakers who really want to get that in, even if it doesn't survive the reconciliation test that it will have to face over in the Senate. There were also some differences over some of the tax provisions involving state and local tax deductions, but that issue, it appears, has also been resolved.
And then what about the bipartisan infrastructure bill? Where do things stand with that?
So that's kind of like the understudy of this big act, right? It's been just patiently waiting in the wings, waiting for its moment. And so we think that bipartisan infrastructure bill will also be voted on today after they take up what's known as the Build Back Better Act, which again is the social spending package that we just discussed. So keep in mind the Senate passed that bipartisan infrastructure bill back over the summer in August. And so again, it was supposed to be voted on in September, then again in October, and so now it will be voted on today, and that includes funding for traditional infrastructure, things like roads, bridges, rail, broadband. And because it has already cleared the Senate, once it passes the House today, that means it would go to the president's desk to sign. However, with respect to the president's plan and this social spending package, that once it passes the House will have to get kicked over to the Senate, where it's possible it could face some additional changes.
Yeah, I know the president would love to be signing 2 bills at the same time. We've heard that he's been sort of making a variety of phone calls behind the scenes, trying to cajole, convince, maybe arm twist, I don't know. What role has President Biden been playing to sort of bring lawmakers on board?
Yeah, so CBS News has learned that President Biden did call a variety of members yesterday to try to urge them to vote yes on this package whenever the vote comes up, which again now appears will be the case today. And look, we have seen him on the Hill multiple times to try to win over Democrats. The White House has certainly been very engaged, making numerous visits here to the Hill and also having lawmakers over to the White House over these past several weeks and months to try to, horse trade and get everybody on the same page. So, because there were some holdouts yesterday, some members who said, look, I still want to see more legislative text. There were some members who still want this bill to be scored so they can get a better sense of the financial impact, the full price tag and cost of this package. There were some members threatening not to vote for the bill. So that's why you saw the president really try to step in yesterday to call some of these members to, again, urge them to vote yes.
So listen, before we let you go, I got to ask you about something else. The latest on the January 6th insurrection investigation. Congressman Benny Thompson, who chairs the House Select Committee, told reporters that he's already signed about 20 subpoenas that are going to be going out soon. Do we know anything more about that?
So the committee has indicated for a while that more subpoenas will be possible, and they haven't necessarily put a timetable on that. Although, again, as you mentioned, most recently we have the chairman now saying that will happen soon. And what's unclear is who will be subpoenaed. I believe he told reporters yesterday that lawmakers would not likely be part of this next batch, but there are some questions about, for instance, whether legal scholar by the name of John Eastman, whether or not he might be part of these subpoenas, since he was very integral in writing a lot of memos surrounding the president's challenge to the election. And so that is something that certainly a lot of watchers and reporters will be watching to see if in fact he is part of this. But look, the committee, talking to a number of the committee members this week, they have made clear that they are really trying to move expeditiously with their probe. We learned this week that they have interviewed about 150 people thus far, and they do indicate that they have a number of people who are cooperating with their committee. So contrary to, even though you have people like Steve Bannon, who ultimately they had to charge with contempt and refer that over to the Justice Department, they do argue that they have plenty more people who have been working with the committee, and that they will keep working with these individuals until they can, get to the bottom of what happened.
Nikole Killion, thank you very much.
You bet.